Implementing a zero mistakes policy when it comes to customer service can be incredibly difficult. Here are 5 ways to optimize customer interactions through automation. Method 1. Google Doc automation. It goes like this. The customer creates a Google Doc. Then they send you the link for the Google Doc. And finally, you make the edits for them inside the same Google document. This workflow is used for gathering client inputs and minimizing any friction when returning feedback. When used for copywriting services, for example, customers draft the initial content in a Google Doc and share the document link with you, the copywriter. You then review and make edits directly inside the same document. When complete, the client is notified that the updates were made. To create this workflow, I'll be using GoHighLevel. We'll first create an automated form to collect the link. To create a form, go to Sites and then Forms. Then add a custom field which we will call Google Doc Link. Now we can set up an automation in GoHighLevel. When the form is submitted, send an internal email to the copywriter. To do that, we choose the trigger Form Submitted, and in the Action step, choose Internal Notification for sending an internal email. Inside the email, add the custom value we created earlier, contact.googledoc.link. Now, when the form is submitted, your copywriter will instantly be emailed the access link to the client's Google Doc. With this setup, all the client has to do is paste the Google Doc link and press Submit. All the copywriter has to do is open the email and make the necessary edits inside the attached Google Doc. This workflow can be used not just with Google Documents, but with any online document. A Notion page containing a video script, a Google Drive folder with product images, a Google Sheet containing customer success metrics. In all these cases, the client uploads the relevant resources and sends you a link through a form. Finally, you provide in return the edited document or a new document with the final product or service. Method 2. Personalized links. What happens if a customer fills out a form but uses a different email instead of the original email they used to sign up with you? GoHighLevel won't be able to find any contact that matches with this new email address. It will simply be put under unknown new contact. Using personalized links can prevent this unneeded friction. When sending a form, add !email equals to contact.email to the end of the form's URL. This way, the email address will be embedded inside the URL that you send to the client. Now, there is no need to even put an email text box inside the form. The customer will simply be recognized using the email information from the link. Method 3. Customized internal links. Custom links can be just as powerful when used internally with your team. Look at this example automation. It's triggered when a form is submitted, and in the action step, it sends an email. But which email address will receive this email? It will be sent to the email that's inside the form's URL. If a customer uses a link with his email address, he will receive an email immediately when the form is submitted. But what is far more interesting is that if an employee or a team member uses this same link, the email will also be sent to the customer, not to the employee. Why is this interesting? Let's say an employee completed some task for a customer. Usually, the employee would have to open up the CRM, find the specific customer, and write them a message saying that their task is complete. Now, there is another option. Alongside the description of the task, you attach this special link from before. Instead of having to open the CRM and write a message, the employee just opens this form link and presses submit. The submit button automatically sends an email to the customer, notifying them that their project is now complete. That's because of the automation we set up. And thanks to the customer's email being embedded in the form's URL. Essentially, it's like attaching a notify customer button to the task. The employee completes the task and immediately has a link that takes care of the customer communication on its own. Method 4. No contact workflow. This workflow is made up of 3 automations in a row. The first automation starts like this. When a lead becomes a customer, send them a form where they can submit their Google Doc link. After the form is submitted, send an email to the copywriter with the client's Google Doc link and the Notify Customer button we previously created. When the Notify Customer button is pressed, the customer receives an email saying your project is now complete, alongside the original Google Doc link. The Notify Customer button is essentially a form triggering an email message back to the customer. The workflow is now complete, except for one thing. We want this entire sequence to trigger when a lead becomes a customer. In GoHighLevel, leads are managed through this dashboard. It's called the Opportunities tab, and it displays leads in various stages along the sales pipeline. Moving a lead over to sold is the trigger we want for our workflow. To set this up, in the first automation, choose the trigger pipeline stage changed and filter pipeline stage is sold. This will trigger the workflow when a new lead is put under sold. If this setup sounds complicated, let's look at it from a different perspective. From the client's perspective, all he needs to do is write initial drafts in a Google Doc, paste the document link into a form, and press submit. From the perspective of the copywriter, all he needs to do is open the Google Doc, revise the existing copy, and press submit. From the perspective of the business owner, you need to do nothing. All the communication takes care of itself. One final comment is that the internal email doesn't have to be sent to one specific email address. For example, if you have 40 copywriters on your team, you can instead send this email to assigned user. However, this requires you to assign each incoming customer to a specific copywriter. Method 5. Obstacle handling. Okay, so you implement this workflow or some version of it, and now you can collaborate with clients on Google Docs, Notion pages, and so on. But what if clients forget to grant you access to the document or do it incorrectly? Now your team member needs to open the CRM and ask the client for access manually. To prevent this, you can add a checkbox labeled Access Restricted to the form. The copywriter simply checks this checkbox if he can't access the document that he received. Now add a condition to the last automation. If the Access Restricted checkbox is ticked, instead of sending your project is complete, send please give us access to the document. In order to make this condition work, there are 2 things you need to do. First, the condition should check if the Access Restricted checkbox is not empty. If it's not empty, send the email asking for permissions instead of the email saying that the project is ready. Second, under Workflow Settings, make sure you allow re-entry to the workflow. That way, the client could submit this same form for a second time. And that's how you create a completed client communication workflow in GoHighLevel.